Welcome to the third class of the Dakshinamurthy Stotram. So there's this class and one more class left, so everything is a bit packed. As usual, we would like to acknowledge Swami Paramarthananda Saraswati for the traditional rendering of Vedanta as it was done for over 1,000 years, starting with Adi Shankaracharya. We'll say a small prayer. Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Partyantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Salutations to the lineage, starting with Lord Sadashiva, with Adi Shankaracharya in the middle, and continuing up to our immediate teacher, Swami Paramarthananda Saraswati. So, with this, I just wanted to give a background before jumping into the material. So, at first glance, Vedanta may seem very theoretical and abstruse, but it is very important. The reason is as follows. It gives you an anchor and grounding into our existence. This is what is said by great teachers. And if you don't have the anchor, when the wind blows, you're just helplessly moved hither and thither. The study of understanding our purpose, why we have this body, why we suffer, and how you can overcome that, is done by understanding all these concepts. This is what we saw in Atma Bodha also. The entire picture of you and the existence and the relation is painted there. This is, and by constant contemplation of that, you would have better meaning and purpose in your life, and you're not swayed by the winds of the samsara. So that is the entire idea. Now, these concepts, sometimes they can look very, it's difficult for some people to relate to. That is why the next level is to make it into a symbolism. So you have this deity called Dakshinamurthy, who is portrayed as wielding some objects, having certain characteristics to illustrate these concepts and something that we can relate to. So that is the entire idea of the Dakshinamurthy Stotram. But the concepts that are presented, they are like the highest levels of Vedanta. And we already saw a few of those concepts. One is Om. So the word Om, it has A, U, Ma, three aspects, and those signify the three states of our existence, which is waking, deep, dream sleep, and deep sleep. And these are these correspond to our three bodies: the gross body, the sthula shariram, which is the physical body; your sukshma shariram, which consists of the mind and the prana and the senses; and the subtle body, which is essentially the seed. It's like the DNA footprint of all our karma and everything. So that's the subtle body. So the three states of existence correspond to this. In the subtle body, everything, in the karana shariram, the causal body, everything is resolved. So gross, subtle, and the causal body. And in the karana shariram, everything is resolved, means you don't, the movie theater of the mind, which is the chitta, is not operating. So you don't recollect. But once you wake up, you know, I've slept. So those are the three states of Om. And then there is the silence before and after. That is called the amatra. That refers to the pure consciousness. That is the substratum on which all these states happen. So this we saw, and we also are now seeing what is the relationship between I, the universe, and what we call God. So that is defined by what are called Mahavakyas. Vakya just means a statement. A Vakyam means a statement. But Mahavakyam means it's a great statement. In this case, the statement equates two different, seemingly different, hugely different things, which is you, the individual, and Paramatma, which is God. Jiva Atma, that is the consciousness inside this in Jiva, and the Paramatma, the consciousness of the entire universe. So this statement is profound because it's like an equation equating two seemingly different things. You don't say 5 is equal to 5. That's obvious. You don't say 6 is equal to 5. That is not true. But you can say 1001 minus 1000 is equal to 15,689 minus 15,688. Both sides, the answer is 1. But two seemingly different quantities. 15,000 looks different from 1000. So that is the Mahavakyam. And the first shloka is so the Mahavakyam, there are many Mahavakyams throughout the Upanishads. Here, if we saw a few, and they equate the Jivatma with the Paramatma. It's like wave and the ocean, the content is water. So in the first one, it is the Jiva Swarupam. So where it is portrayed as when we look. So Dakshinamurthy is one who's aware of this. He is the Jiva. He is the Atma. Guru Ishvaror Guru Ratmeti. So he manifests in all these forms as God and as our own self, that is us, and as Guru, teacher. So here two examples we saw in the first shloka on the Jiva Swarupam, that is Tvam, that is the nature of you, the individual. Like one example is when you look into a mirror, you don't see your face, but you see the entire universe. So, and the other one is the sleep. So sleep is a very important analogy, the dreams and sleep. In Vedanta, it's quoted again and again. So another thing, the entire dream world is resting where? In the mind of the waker. So that is, these are the two analogies of the Jiva Swarupam. So the entire world is a projection. In the dream, the entire world is a projection in the mind. Similarly, the entire universe is projected on the mind of the cosmic mind, which is also called Hiranyagarbha. We saw all that. Now we were halfway through the Tatpada Artha Vichara, which is the nature of that or the Paramatma. So here, Bijasyantarivankuro Jagaditam Pranirvikalpam Punaha Maya Kalpita Desha Kala Kalana Vaichitrya Chitri Kritam Maya Viva Vijrumbayatyapi Maha Yogi Vayasvechaya Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namayidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So it's a profound shloka. It has a very deep meaning. He who, like a magician, so this refers to Tatpada Artha, which is that, the Paramatma. So here, God. So he, the Dakshinamurti, like a magician or a great yogi, by his own will. So Swa Ichchaya, Ichcha means desire or will. Swa Ichchaya means by his own will makes the universe manifest into manifold forms through Maya. And how are these different? It has to be different, and it's because of conditioning by space and time. So, for example, you want to build a house, so there's only space everywhere, right? Then you put a wall and you say, okay, that is space outside the house, there's space inside the house. Then you put more walls inside the house and say, this is bedroom, this is kitchen, and all that. Like that, by conditioning. So in this thing, the different objects are conditioned by time and space, but all these exist in unmanifested form, undifferentiated form, like a sprout within a seed. So he manifests them, and there are two ways to look at it, which is what we are going to see now. And what this shows is that creation is not real creation. You don't create something out of thin air. It is transformation. The word creation is a wrong term. So things can only be transformed like a sprout coming from which is there latently within a seed, from avyakta avastha, unmanifested state, to vyakta avastha, manifest state. So there are two ways to look at it. One, so we saw that the transactional level, and the absolute level. So Vedanta defines three types of levels. The pratibhasika satyam, which is the myth, it's the lowest level. It's like a dream or a mirage assumed, or you think a rope is a snake. All these are figments of imagination. That is very easy for us to see. So that is pratibhasika satyam, that is mythical reality. Then there comes vyavaharika satyam, that is transactional or empirical reality, that is our waking state. And then comes the absolute reality. The absolute reality is Paramarthika Satyam. And just like we know that the Pratibhasika Satyam, like a dream, is seemingly true when you're dreaming, but when you wake up, it's gone. Like that, from the Paramarthika level, the entire our existence itself is like a dream. Okay? But pain and all that is true. Just like in a dream, you feel miserable and you feel thirsty, all that. So this is also true. And to get out of this, one has to awaken. Awaken means get enlightened, understand all this knowledge. Okay, so these are the two states, realities that are being discussed in this shloka. So you can look at God and creation in either of these two ways. And what is the first way of looking at it? Creation at a transactional level, vyavaharika satyam. So it requires a material and an instrumental cost. To make anything, you need you have to make a table, you need wood and a carpenter. So Ishvara is the Brahman, which is the consciousness wielding the power of Maya. Okay, with that we saw in Atma Bodha how light and shadow, darkness, when you kind of project, interleave, creates different forms, right? So that is how creation is looked at. By Brahman and Maya coming together, the entire creation comes, and the substratum is Brahman. So the Ishvara is called Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam. Same cause. It's instrumental and material. The example is like a spider. Brahman is the instrumental cause, Maya is the material cause. This is stated again and again in the Bhagavad Gita also. So Maya is like the male Brahman is like the male principle, Maya is like the female principle. The keywords Maya Kalpita, it is manifest through Maya. Kalpana means imagination. So it seemingly is projected through Maya. So this is creation at the transactional level. That's a Vyavaharika Satyam, where you have a material cause and an instrumental cause. Now, creation at the absolute level, Paramarthika Satyam, it is again, the keyword is Maya Kalpita, projection, imagination through Maya. Creation is a projection on Brahman through Maya. Previously, it was like instrument and a material, like Brahman is the instrument, material is Maya. Here it's like seemingly things coming together, like a magician performing a trick or a yogi displaying the siddhis. When the light and the darkness come, you have different shades coming. So creation at the absolute level, the Paramarthika Satyam, and creation at the transactional level, the Vyavaharika Satyam. So these two were explained in this shloka. And how does multiplication or division happen in creation? Through division of time and space to create separation, seemingly different, using space and time to create embellished variety. This is the projecting power of Maya. Maya has two powers, Avarana Shakti, which is the deluding power by covering everything, preventing consciousness from coming. And then the Vikshepa Shakti. Vikshepa Shakti is the projecting power of Maya. We've seen this in the Atma Bodha. So that is what is talked about here. Now coming to the third. So we saw Tvam in the first shloka, Tat, that. Tvam means you, the individual. Tat means that, the entity called God or Paramatma. Now, Jivatma Paramatma Aikyam, the oneness of the Jivatma and Paramatma. So let's read the shloka. यस्यैव स्फुरणं सदात्मकमसत्कल्पार्थकं भासते साक्षात् तत्त्वमसीति वेदवचसा यो बोधयत्याश्रितान् यत्साक्षात्करणात् भवेन्न पुनरावृत्तिर्भवान् बोधिनौ तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नम इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये. Okay, so let's look at these words. So this is the first line occurs in Gaudapada's Mandukya Karika 4.62. Yasyaiva spuranam sadatmakam kalpartakam bhasate. Yasya eva spuranam. So what it means is that the he who's the very manifestation of whose nature is existence, which appears in reality as multiple objects. So yasya eva spuranam means, yasya eva means that alone. Spuranam means shining or manifesting. And what is manifesting? That satatmakam, which is of the nature of pure existence. Sat atmakam means pure existence. Yasya, that which is satatmakam, is of the nature of pure existence. Eva means alone, it's of the nature of pure existence alone. Bhasate, appears as what? Asat kalpartakam, as mithya. So, or he, that or he who is the very manifestation of the self alone, whose nature is existence, and which appears as manifold objects, though in reality these objects are mithya, asat kalpam. Asat means not true, kalpam means imagination. So mithya is not really true, it's like a figment of imagination, but it's seemingly true and gives problems. So we have to acknowledge on one level, but we have to negate it at another level, like a dream or a snake within a rope which gets misidentified as a snake. And sakshat tatvamasiti veda vachasa yo bodhayatyashritam. Sakshat, directly, and he who thus directly imparts to those who have taken refuge in him the knowledge of the great Vedic utterance, Tattvamasi, that thou art. Okay? Sakshat, directly he imparts. Tattvamasi Veda Vachasa, the great Vedic utterance, Tattvam Asi. Yo Bodhayatyashritan. Yo Bodhayati means one who imparts this knowledge. Bodha means knowledge. One who imparts this knowledge. Bodhayat Ashritan, those who have taken refuge in him, those who surrender to him, to them he gives this knowledge. Those who are seeking this, to them he gives this knowledge of the Vedic utterance, that thou art. And what happens when you know this? Yat sakshat karanat bhavena punaravrittir bhavan bodhino. By the direct realization of which, yet sakshat, by the direct realization of which, karanat, sakshat karanat means direct realization of which, bhaven, there is punar avrittir bhavan bodhinav. There is no return into the ocean of samsara or worldly existence. Punar avritti means return. Punar means again. Avritti means again taking shape in as with a human body or animal body or whatever. Punar avrittino bhavan ambo nidau. Bhava amba nida. Amba means water. Here it refers to the ocean. Nidhi means like a huge repository of water. So a repository of water refers to the ocean. Bhavan Bodhinav, that is the ocean of worldly existence. Bhava means existence. So there is no direct realization of this. There, there is no return into the ocean of the worldly existence. To that glorious form of the Guru Sri Dakshinamurthy, I offer my salutations. So this talks about the oneness between the jiva and the um, um, Ishvara. So he who is the very manifestation of the self, whose nature is existence, so that equates the jiva with Ishvara, and which appears as manifold objects, though in reality these objects are mithya. So the entire creation, they say, it is in our head. So it is the whole thing, because I, the consciousness, am projecting this everything in on the universe, as the universe on Brahman. Okay. So the example, again repeating, the rope snake is mithya padartha. Mithya padam means a state. So mithya, it's a false state. The isness is the manifestation of the rope. Rope's isness is manifest in the snake. So that is why um, even so the in the highest level of Vedanta, we know nothing can be created from thin air. But then they can say, okay, you have this thing which now the seed, from the seed there was the sprout latent in the seed, then it's coming out, and then it's again getting dissolved, going back into the seed, like that creation. That's one way of explaining. But in reality, it is um, it's everything is a projection. So the example that is given is the rope snake example. There is only the rope that is there. The isness is the manifestation of the rope. The rope's isness is manifested in the snake. So there is no snake in reality, but it's just the rope which looks as the snake. So that is the profound meaning here. The nature of consciousness is Sat, which is just existence. Remember, this is not a property. It's different. When you say nature, fires, what is the nature of fire? Fire's nature is heat and light. So it is not a property. Property means it can be different things. Oh, the light can be little red, little this. The smell can be this. The smell of a fire depends on what you burn in the fire. It can be different. There's coming from that. Those are all properties. But when you say fire, what's nature? How do you define fire? The two things that are inherent are light and heat. Like that, this is not a property of consciousness. It is the nature of consciousness. Sat, existence. It is existence. Chit is consciousness. Ananda is bliss. And that is what you are. Your true nature is bliss. But because we get confused with the body, we suffer. So we can substitute the word existence with consciousness to refer to the Atma, because these words are not properties, but are the nature itself. Okay. So we've seen this before, relationship of the consciousness to the body. Consciousness is not product, part, or property of the body. This everybody understands, right? Consciousness is a separate entity we've been studying. Anybody has any questions in this? I can proceed. Yeah. Then consciousness is an independent entity which pervades and enlivens the body. It has nothing to do with the body. It's just an independent entity. And that consciousness is you. Consciousness is not limited by the boundaries of the body. It is all pervading. Consciousness survives even after the fall of the body. And the surviving consciousness, that is you, is not accessible to for transaction. not because it is absent, but because there is no medium for its manifestation. This medium is called the body. In reality, it is the subtle body, where the mind, where things are reflected. So once the body falls, the subtle body and the causal body, when the physical body falls, the subtle and the causal body leave. Now we can substitute the word consciousness with the word existence, because these are two properties. Fire is of the nature of light. You can say fire is of the nature of heat. Um, like that, existence is not product, part, or property of the body. Existence is an independent entity which pervades and enlivens the body. Just like, think of the body just as a shirt or a dress that you wear. Existence is not limited by the boundaries of the body. Existence survives even after the fall of the body. You survive even after the fall of the body. The surviving existence is not accessible, not because it is absent, but because there is no medium for its manifestation. Medium is Sukshma Shariram. So the word consciousness is substituted with existence because it is the nature of existence. It is the nature of Atma or Brahman. It is not a property. So in this, the entire thing is manifested from Dakshinamurthy, the Atma, but it's like a projection, the entire world of objects. Okay. Now going into the fourth shloka, this is the self-evidence of the Atma. All this we've seen in Atma Bodha. So that's why those entire 8 shlokas, they are condensed version of entire Vedanta. नानाचित्रगठोदरस्थितमहा दीपप्रभाभास्वरम् ज्ञानं यस्य तु चक्षुरादिकरणाद् द्वारा बहिस्पन्दते जानामीति तमेव भान्तमनुभात्येतत् समस्तं जगत् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नम इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये. So here a beautiful example is given. Nana chidra gathodarastaha. So the body, the um, the senses, all these are they're considered navadware pure dehi. The dehi, the embodied, lives within a body that consists of 9 gateways or openings. So you have the ears, the two nose, nostrils, 2 ears, the mouth, the 2 eyes, and then the organ of elimination, organ of reproduction. So 9. So like that, the consciousness is shining through all these gateways there. It is likened to a pot with holes, and the consciousness is shining through this. So we transact with the outside world through these organs, right? So he whose here consciousness is the intelligence, just like the bright light of a great lamp placed in a pot with many holes shines outside. So the Atma shines outside the body through the gateway of the instruments like eyes, etc. So let's look at the word. Nana chitra gathodharastita mahadeepa prabhabhaswaram. Nana chidra gata means many. Chidra means holes. Gata is pot, you all know. So Nana chidra gata means a pot with many holes. Udara in the interior. Udara also means the belly. In the interior of the pot with the many holes, titaha is situated. What is situated? Mahadeepa. Mahadeepa means a great lamp, and whose light, Prabha, the light of that great lamp, like that, this Bhasvaram, this consciousness, which is the shining, luminous thing. So he whose intelligence, just like the bright light of a great lamp placed in a pot with many holes, shines outside, shines. Uh, just like a light shines outside, the consciousness shines outside the body through the gateway of the senses. That is there in the next um, second line. Jnanam yasya tu chakshuradikarana dvara bahispandate. Jnana means knowledge or consciousness, who's intelligent, yasya, of whom, to chakshuradikarana, like through the gateway of the sense instruments like eyes, etc. Karanam means instruments. Dwara, through the gateway. Bahihi, outside. Spandate, pulsates. Spanda is a word that Gaudapada uses quite a bit. So Shankaracharya is using that here. It just shines, pulsates, it just radiates outside, streams forth. Spandam, it's just like pulsating. It is streaming forth outside. And what kind of consciousness is this? Janamiti tameva bhantam anubatyetat samastam jagat. It is because of the consciousness, it causes the notion that I know. Janami iti. Janami means I know. So it is this consciousness whose reflection, tameva bhantam anubhati. Anubhati means reflection. The reflection of this consciousness in the mind creates a notion, I know. I know what? Etat samastam jagat. I can understand this entire universe because of the reflection in the mind. Okay? So, because of the reflection in the mind, I can understand this entire consciousness, this entire universe. Okay? Okay. So now the question will come. So we've seen this before in the Atma Bodha, but I'm going to tell that again here. Who is the knower? Anybody wants to say who's the knower? Is consciousness the knower? Anybody wants to take a guess? Where does knowing happen? This entity called knowing.
I'm forgetting like all the little like subtleties here, but I just want to say it's in the mind, but I'm not sure if that's the right description.
Yeah. So the knower happens, the knowing happens at the intersection of the mind and the consciousness. So you need both. The consciousness we saw itself, it's unchanging. So when you know something, you're different, right or not? Yeah. But consciousness doesn't change. It's just conscious, like electricity. Electricity is always the same. When you feed it through an apple sorting machine, you can teach the apple sorting machine, you can tune it to make it more selective in choosing the apples or less selective. You can do all the fine tuning. But the apple sorting machine itself is inert. What makes it come alive is electricity. Electricity is likened to the consciousness. The mind itself is inert, but it's only when can electricity sort apples? No. It requires both the electricity and the apple sorting machine to sort apples. Like that, it requires both the consciousness and the mind to know something. So the mind, from one angle, you need the mind to understand your own nature, and from another angle, you don't need the mind. So this can be a very confusing thing, because in some of the Upanishads, in the Mundaka Upanishads, for example, it says the subtle Atma is to be known by the mind. Atma Jnanam has to be gained by the mind alone. This is the Vritti Vyapti Siddhyartham, which is only through the thought process of the mind, you can know the Atma. But then in Kena Upanishad, it says, with the mind, the Atma cannot be known. It means mind cannot illumine the Atma. So mind is required in one angle. So what it's saying is that from one angle, you need the mind, but the mind alone won't do. So how is that? We'll see this. Mind is like a mobile mirror that reflects sunlight. Let's say you have a dark room, and then there's from a small hole in the window, sunlight is coming in. Now you want to illuminate the entire room. You have take the mirror and you steer it so that thereby illuminating different portions of the room. Our mind is like this. It's dark. When you steer the light of the consciousness into different portions, you understand different things. That's how the mind works. Mind is like a movable mirror that reflects sunlight. Using the sunlight, mirror can illumine all the portions of the dark room. But can the mirror be used to illumine the sun? No. So that way, Atma is needed to the mind is needed to remove the notion of anything that is not Atma, but it cannot shine light on the Atma itself. Atma is Swayam Prakash. So it's Swayam Prakasha. It is of the nature of self-revealing. It will just reveal itself. Once you remove the ignorance, it will reveal itself. Like all the clouds blocking the sun, once the clouds go away, the sun shines. We also saw different examples, like a light, a candle is there, you place a pot, and then slowly as you're lifting the pot, the lit candle, you can immediately see, there is a lit candle there. Whereas if the candle is not lit and a dark room, you're removing the pot, this is there in Panchadashi, you don't see anything. You have to shine a torch light or something to know, oh, there's a candle here. So Atma is like that. It is self-revealing. Who is the knower and where does knowing takes place? Knowing happens only when consciousness reflected in the intellect joins, this is the Chidabhasa, joins with the vritti of the mind. So the movie screen example, the projector light, we've seen the analogy of the mind to a movie theater. I hope everybody remembers. Let me see if I can put the slides again. Okay. The analogy of the mind to a movie theater. The projector light, that is like the consciousness. The film, these are the contents from the senses. And at night when we are sleeping, this thing is replayed in the opposite direction from the stored thing in the contents of the mind. They start projecting like this, and again it's played on the chitta as dreams. Now it's from the external world, and while you're dreaming, it's from the memory. But it's the light. The light is like the consciousness. The light alone, the projector light alone does not result in us understanding anything. Right? In a movie, if there's just light shining, are the contents of the movie known? No. The film alone does not allow us to understand anything. You can't see the film, right? It's so small that you don't see anything clearly. But when the light and the film combine, images are projected, everything is understood. Like that, you need the knowing happens only when consciousness reflected in the mind joins with the vritti. Vritti is a modification in the mind that happens. It's only when there is differences created, you know. If everything is uniform, you don't know anything. Okay, so far is it clear? So that is what is illustrated in this shloka. The title is self-evidence, Swayam Prakashatvam. That's the self-evidence of the Atma. It's Atma. You need the mind to remove the ignorance, but then the Atma will reveal itself. Okay. Fifth is the wrong theories about the self. So far, is it clear? So we've seen Tattvamasi, the first three shlokas, and then we've seen the self-evidence of the Atma, and now wrong theories about the self, what the self is not. Deham pranamapindriyannapi chalam buddhim cha shunyam viduhu Stribhalam dajatopamastvahamiti bhranta brisham padinaha Maya shakti vilasa kalpita maha Vyamoha samharine Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So it talks about misconceptions. Deha Atmavada, Prana Atmavada, Indriya Atmavada, Buddhi, and Shunya Atmavada. We'll see all of that. And what does Dakshinamurti do? He destroys the great delusion conjured up by the play of the power of Maya in those who are like we'll see like those who are very emotional, they're childish, they're blind, they don't see properly, and the dull. But they forcefully, through delusion, because they're deluded, they forcefully argue that. What do they argue? Deham pranam apindriyan apichalam buddhim cha shunyam viduhu. They say, I am Deham. Deham means body. I am the body. Or they even say Api also Pranam. Even I am Pranam Api. I'm even they even claim that they are Prana alone. Prana is the one that is the ultimate entity. There is nothing like a prana is the life force. Some people say that. The life force, that's prana, that is the ultimate. There's nothing other than prana. Prana is life. I worship prana. So Deham, some people, that is the materialist people say, okay, I am we are all pleasure seekers. The body is for pleasure. Enjoy the body. That is, I am the Deham. That's the highest thing. Then Pranam api. Then Indriyan api. Some people say senses are the greatest things because they are the ones from which all the information comes in. So they say, I am nothing but the senses. Then Achalam buddhihi. He doesn't say intellect. He says, chalam buddhihi, which means the unsteady intellect. Chalam means movement. Achalam means unmoving. So chalam is unsteady intellect or the mind. Some people say, okay, the mind is the greatest thing. I am the mind. I worship people who have brilliant minds. They are the greatest. And there are some other people who say, Shunyam. Shunyam means void. So this is with reference to the Buddhist, Madhyamakama Buddhists. We'll see that soon. So the Shunyam, they believe that the inherent nature of everything is emptiness. So Madhyamaka Buddhism, which is also called Shunyavada, it is very similar to Advaita Vedanta. The only difference is they say there is no consciousness, Atma, there is no inherent reality of the of any real thing. It is just conjured up by a mix of different things, none of which have a true inherent reality. So that is called Shunyavada. Okay. Okay. So these people, they think that they are the body, the prana, or sense organs, or the unsteady intellect, or the void. And because of what? Stribalanda jatopamastvahamiti bhranta brisham vadinaha ahamiti. So all these things, they say, I am the body, blah, 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 blah. Then like what? Because of what? These people are Stri. Stri also means woman, but in this context, Stri also means, Stri guna means emotional quality. So it means emotional. Bala means a child. So here it means immature. Balaha means childish or immature. Balaha. Then anda means blind. And Jata means dull. Jato means it's dull, and the dull qualities, because they don't have clear thinking. They have all these things which obscure their understanding. Um, Upama, like all these qualities, Sri Bala and Jado Upama, who are like all these things. Upama means like, they have all these qualities. Upama. Iti Bhranta Brisham Vadinaha. They are deluded. Bhranti means delusion. Bhranta means they are deluded. These people, because they are deluded, though they are deluded, but Brisham Vadinaha, they vehemently argue. So they forcefully argue. Um, Prisham means forcefully or vehemently. Vadinaha means they argue. So they forcefully argue that they are the body and all that. Even in those people, if they surrender to Dakshinamurthy, Dakshinamurthi destroys the great illusion conjured up by the play of the power of Maya. Maya Shakti Vilasa Kalpita Maha Vyamoha Samharine. Maya Kalpita Shakti. Maya Shakti Vilasa Kalpita means conjured up by the play of power of Maya. Maya Shakti is the power of Maya. Vilasa means play. Kalpita, conjured. Kalpana means imagination. Kalpita means conjured up. He who destroys the great delusion conjured up by the play of the power of Maya. Okay, so in all these people who think they are this, that, to that glorious form of Guru Sri Dakshinamurti, I offer my salutations. So we saw the different sheets: Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha. So here, few of them are covered: the body, the prana, so the emotions, the Vijnanamaya, the intellect, and the Shunyam, that is Anandamaya Kosha. So all these, some people associate themselves with the 5 koshas. Each of those are stated in this shloka. So there are different, in that time, there were different theories. Some people, the theory of body as the Atma, theory of prana as the Atma, senses as the Atma, intellect as the Atma, and of all these 5 systems or theories, Shankaracharya takes up the champion. The champion at that time was the Shunya Atmavadaha. And this was made very famous by a great scholar called Nagarjuna. So this was the champion theory at the time. And the Madhyamaka philosophers, and the greatest philosopher at the time was a person called Nagarjuna, who was a brilliant Sanskrit scholar. And he was a proponent of Shunyavada. Shunyavada says the inherent nature of the fundamental nature is nothingness. Nothingness does not mean like completely empty, but there's no permanent quality, like permanent nature. So Advaita and Shunyavada Buddhism, they're very similar, except Advaita says the nature of reality is Sat, Chit, Anandam, not property, nature. Whereas Madhyamaka says there is no permanent nature. Like a flame comes because of the mixing of there's light, heat, chemical reactions. All these are, there's no, the flame looks steady, it's there. But the flame consists of a lot of things that are changing. So he says there's nothing inherent in the flame. It is just chemical reactions happening. All those things are combining. There is no inherently, what you see as a steady flame is due to the combination of various things changing. So there is nothing that is steady. Whereas Advaita says there is a consciousness whose nature is Sat, Chit, Anandam, existence, consciousness, bliss. And this Nagarjuna lived from 150 to 250 Common Era. He was one of the most important Buddhist philosophers, widely regarded as the founder of the middle way, Madhyamaka school of Mahayana Buddhism. one of the greatest Sanskrit scholars. His central teaching was Shunyata, asserting that all phenomena are empty of inherent existence. They are not completely empty, empty of something permanent or inherent existence. And Shunyavadi, he was the champion at the time. And he's supposed to be the Prathama Malla, which means the Malla means wrestling, the champion, the great. So and the Shunyavadi, he has defeated other Buddhists and other theories which claim the Deha, Prana, Indriya, and Buddhi senses and the intellect as the Atma. So what does Shankaracharya have to do? He has to knock out the Shunyavadi theory. That's so by that he can claim the top title. So that is what he's going to do in the next shloka. He's going to say, no, or there is a phenomenal which is there is a nature to this true inherent reality, and the nature is Satchit Anandam, and he's going to give an example using deep sleep. So all the four parts of the mind are off during deep sleep. What are the four parts of the mind? Mano, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara. The deep sleep is the Shunyavadis use deep sleep as the basis for their theory. Since no subject-object distinction is present in deep sleep because it's completely gone, they say that is the true nature of reality. So whenever you see something, then the other thing is the object and you are the subject, right? So you see the body, you experience the mind, so those are not you. Whereas in deep sleep, the subject-object experience collapses. So they say that is the true nature of reality. That's a true you, which is pure shunyata. And because there's nothing that's happening there, our true nature is shunyata, or independent of essence. So Shunyavadi says deep sleep is emptiness. So the nature of true reality is also emptiness, because there is no subject-object distinction there. In all other states, you have subject-object distinction. So Shankaracharya has to establish that the deep sleep state is not emptiness. Okay. Okay. So they say that deep sleep confirms shunyata as a fundamental reality. For Advaita Vedanta, deep sleep is not void, shunya. Deep sleep is a state in which the mind is resolved, but the witness consciousness remains. This is crucial because Advaita Vedanta rests on the nature of the Atma to be Satchit Anandam. That is the only reality, being consciousness bliss. This is the substratum. If deep sleep were void, there would be no continuity of the self, no memory, no possibility of even moksha. Now, that happens in this shloka. So he's establishing that the nature of the Atma. So do you follow the logic here? The Shunyavada says the only way you can experience the true subject is in deep sleep, because in all other states you are seeing something. You're seeing the mind or external objects. All those are different from you. If you see something, experience something, that is not you. It's only in deep sleep everything is resolved, and that is the subject. And deep sleep is empty, void. So the nature of the subject or the reality of you is also void. And Shankaracharya is going to disprove that. So far, have you understood the logic? Everybody? Yes, no? Yeah? Amy? Anybody else? Have any questions here? So this is the logical portion of this. Okay. Rahukrasta Divakarendu Sadrisho Maya Samachadanat Sanmatra Karanopasamharanato Yo Bhutsu Shupta Puman Pragasvap Samiti प्रबोध समये यः प्रत्यभिज्ञायते तस्मै श्री गुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्री दक्षिणामूर्तये. Okay, so he's negating the Shunyavada Buddhism. Okay, look at the shlokas. It's a profound one. Rahu grasta divakarendu sadrisho. Okay, so Rahu is a mythological celestial body believed to cause eclipses. Okay, and it causes eclipses by swallowing. And Rahu, what happened was when they churned I've told the story before, but when they churned the Mount Mandara with using Vasuki as a serpent, the Asuras were on one side, the demons, and the Devas, the divine beings, they were on the other side. They both churned, and nectar came out. So first Vishnu comes as Mohini, as Maya, and he says, okay, I'll first give it to the Devas. You Asuras, you go wash yourself and come, and then I'll give it to you. The Devas already have washed and they're very clean. So he starts giving it to the Devas as Mohini. Vishnu takes the avatar of Mohini, the beautiful enchantress woman. And at that time, two Asuras, they one Asura, he comes as he disguises himself as a Deva. He changes his appearance and wants to jump the line and get the nectar. And with the nectar, he can become immortal. And at that time, sun and the moon tell Vishnu, he is an imposter. And then Vishnu takes his discus and cuts his head. So one part is called Rahu, and the body is called Ketu. So Rahu is the one which swallows. But because he doesn't have a body, when you swallow something, it just temporarily it's obscured, but then it goes out because there is no body to contain it. So Rahu always tries to swallow. And what is that? The Earth orbits around the sun in a plane. This plane is called the ecliptic, right? Then the moon orbits around the Earth in a plane which is 5 degrees tilted compared to the ecliptic plane. Because these two planes are kind of intersecting each other, there are 2 points when on the moon where it falls on the ecliptic. So what it means is that the sun, the moon, and the earth are in a straight line. So either the moon comes in between the sun and the earth, in which case there is a solar eclipse, or the earth comes between the sun and the moon, in which case there is a lunar eclipse. But it looks as though Rahu, the Rahu and Ketu are the two nodes where this intersect. There's the moon's orbit intersects the ecliptic plane. So those are the two nodes. These are considered very important in Vedic astrology. Okay, so just as due to being covered by Maya, just like the sun and the moon are grasped by Rahu during the eclipse, Rahu grasta Divakara means sun, Indu means moon, Sadrishaha like Maya Samachadana, due to being covered by Maya, just like the sun and the moon are grasped by Rahu. And what happens? What is covered by Maya? We are covered by Maya in deep sleep. Sanmatra karanopasamharanato yobutsu shupta puman. Puman means an individual who in deep sleep, he who is in the deep sleep of a person becomes pure existence. So at that time, it becomes pure existence. It just exists. There's no images on the screen. The screen is turned off, but it's just is there. Sanmatra karano upasamharanato. So Sanmatra refers to pure being. Dakshinamurthy exists as pure being in our deep sleep. karanaha or organs. Upasamharanata means withdrawal, when all the senses, everything, even the mind is withdrawn. Yeah, Abut Sushupta Puman, who became in the deep sleep as pure existence, that is Dakshinamurti. When the sense organs are withdrawn, like the sun and the moon are grasped by Rahu. But then comes the important part. Pragasvapsamiti prabodha samaye. Prag. And then when you wake up, what do you think? Prag, before I slept, who's recollected? Pratyabhignayate. Okay, who's recollected? Pratyabhignayate, by the person when awake as I slept well. To that glorious form of Dakshinamurti, I offer my salutations. So this is the important part. If you did not know that you slept, then there's no continuity. The continuity is lost. So your entire existence is gone. Oh, what happened? Was I awake for 1,000? Did I sleep for 1,000 years? What happened? I'm totally confused. No, the continuity is maintained by the presence of the Atma. If that's not there, everything is lost. So Atma is the one that maintains continuity throughout. One way to do is, let's say you don't have any non-volatile memories. You have a memory which requires electricity to operate in a computer. So even if the computer is switched off, certain things are stored because of the electricity. If the electricity is removed, all that information is gone. So it's like that. The presence of the consciousness maintains that continuity. So because when you wake up, you know, oh, I was in a deep sleep. I didn't even dream. You know that. And that is because of the existence of the consciousness. Even though the mind, the chitta is not acting, the consciousness is still present. So that is the meaning of this shloka. So he who in the deep sleep of a person, puman sushuptaha means deep sleep, becomes is experienced as sanmatraha. San matra means alone. San matra means that alone, pure existence. San matra means pure existence. When the sense organs are withdrawn, karana upasamharanataha. Karana means all these instruments. Upasamharanata means withdraw due to being covered by Maya. Maya samachaganat, just like the sun. So covering by Maya happens in deep sleep, just like the sun or the moon are grasped by Rahu, but it's temporary and then they're released. Who's then recollected, who means that's the pure existence, is recollected. Pratibhijnayate, by the person when awake as I slept well. To that glorious form of the Guru Dakshinamurti, I offer my salutations. So with this, Shankaracharya disputes the Shunyavada Buddhist. So the analogy between space and consciousness, the common misconception is we often perceive space as nothingness or emptiness. And the reason for this misconception, it's because space is not tangible or perceptible through our senses. However, space is not an absence, but a positive entity. Parallel, similarly, pure, same thing, non-perceptibility for non-existence is extended to the pure existence. So the challenge with pure existence is not amenable to our ordinary means of transaction or perception, leading us to mistakenly believe it is nothing. Okay, so this is like pure like space. There is space, but we don't see anything, so we don't know there is something. So in sleep, non-transactional existence is available, which is my true nature. Another example is light in space, which is dark. You don't see the light in space. You see a movie, so that's just blank, dark screen. You see a space movie. And then suddenly a satellite comes and it's shining because sun is shining on that. Once the satellite goes, everything is dark. So needs to be a medium for transaction to see the light of the space. Okay. This, this shows self-eclipsing due to the power of Maya. Avarana Shakti. We previously saw Vikshepa Shakti, power of projection, due to the Rajoguna. Now Avarana Shakti, power of wheeling, due to the Tamoguna. In sleep, there's only Avarana Shakti. Okay. With that, we will stop the recording.